community. And so on the way down, I wrote up the article, and so on the way down, I stopped at the post office to pick up my mail, and there was one from the Committee on Aging, and I thought, well, what now? And so I opened up the mail, and it said, congratulations, you have been selected as an outstanding senior of the year. So when I went down to this meeting, and so I gave the article. I didn't give the letter, I gave the article. They all read it. Oh, this is good. We're going to publish this in the paper. And so they all read it. They all thought the article was very good. Then I said, well, I have this letter here that I just got in the mail. So I passed it. They said, oh, you have been... I said, I think they have mind readers over in Maui. And, but the part that I like to bring up, my son called me from Honolulu, and he said, do you get the advertiser? And I said, well, yeah, we buy it, we subscribe in the Star Bulletin in the afternoon paper. I said, but why? Why do you want to know whether I get that? So I said, well, there's an article in there written by Sama Maru. And Sama Maru, yeah, the title is Marion Peters Indeed. So I said, oh, well, I have to get that paper then, see what it's all about. So when I went down to Kanakakai, and before I could get to the newsstand for that paper, the people all, oh, we saw the article in the paper, Sama Maru wrote about you, and you never saw that.
No, when was that?
Oh, this was in 1974.
Right before we got here, huh?
I have a copy of it. And in there he has my genealogy way back to King My mother comes from that line, And then he said that you think of Marion Peters as just a person growing old gracefully, and you don't know her history, and they own this, they own the mountain, they own the sea, they own all the fish in the ocean and all the... Oh, too long ago, that, Queen Lily O'Clem, her name was also Kamakaeha. And literally, that means eye, that maka is eye, eha is wound or hurt. And this lady named her daughter Kamakaeha. This is not too long ago that the story was told to me. And that child grew up and trouble with the eye, and eye trouble, and the mother didn't know what was wrong, girls that suffer with the eye. But then someone said, well, I think it's that name. You had no right to give her that name, Kamakaeha. So she changed the girl's name, and then no more trouble.
What was this again about your brother? Your brother and... Yeah,
he's the Queen Emma. She was a wife of Kamehameha IV, and she was a godmother of my brother. And she gave him the name Alexander Hoolehua, that's her husband's name. And but he was going to be named John after my father's brother. But his whole name is John Alexander Hoolehua. And then my sister, her godmother was Queen Kapiolani, that's a wife of Queen Kapiolani. And she gave my sister the name Kapiolani, that's her name. So there's no trouble, but if you go and take a name...
Oh, bad news, huh? This is a picture of your mother.
You want to just...
Yeah. This is a picture of my mother. Her father went as one of the early Hawaiian missionaries to the Gilbert Islands, Micronesia, and Marquesas. And my mother was born while he was in the Gilbert Islands. And that he went in 1854. My mother was born there in January of 1855. And when she was old enough to attend school, she returned to Honolulu and lived with relatives and attended school in Honolulu.
Okay.
This is a picture of my father, Henry Howard Marion Peters. He was of French-Hawaiian ancestry, born in Kohala on the island of Hawaii.
Okay.
This is a picture of my mother taken in our home on Young Street near Thomas Square. It was in between the year 1915 and 20. I attended Hoolehua School for 4 years, graduating with a class of 1916. And I'm pointing to my picture in this, to myself in this picture. When during this year, 1916, Hoolehua was observing the 75th year. 75th anniversary. It was founded in 18. In 1974, I was given the award of the Outstanding Senior Citizen of the Year. And in this picture, this shows the meeting we had with Governor Ariyoshi. That was given me by George Ariyoshi in 1974 when I was given that award. At that time, he was the acting governor of the state of Hawaii. And it states here, this expression of esteem is awarded to Marion Peters for many years of outstanding service to the community and in appreciation of unselfish devotion to improve the quality of life of the elderly in the state of Hawaii. Presented this 29th day of April, 1974. Her ancestress, the sacred Kalani Kau'i Kekilo, was not merely a princess, she was a goddess and was worshipped as much. The last of the Ni'aupio, the most exalted and the highest born of Hawaiian royalty, the last of island royalty to be worshipped in the temples as a living goddess. It was she who vomited in sheer disgust when she learned that her niece, Queen Keopuolani, had become the wife of Kamehameha the Great. And when she learned that her niece had borne a child to the great Kamehameha, she killed herself. In other words, I come from this Queen Keopuolani, and her mother, this was her aunt, and she felt that, it was not right that her niece should be married Queen Kamehameha. She was just disgusted, but when she heard that her niece had born a baby, she committed suicide.
Your lineage, mother's side or your father's side?
No, my mother's side.
Your mother's side. That's where the royal blood comes from.
Yeah.
How can we talk about your
Oh.
your royal blood?
Okay, would you want to show that other thing? I like that.
Which one?
Which one?
That's nice, yeah.
Well,
Could you?
this Philipolani, she was buried in, well, that's on the Lahaina side of Maui.
Messing with danger there.
What?
I was just saying.
Was built again
Where is this tomb?
in Lahaina. On the Lahaina, Viola is the name of the church, and it's in that churchyard. And her tomb was done over again, so they were going to have this queen's memory on it, Queen Keopuolani. So they invited me to go to that.
Because you were a descendant of them.
And here, Sam Amaru was there, and he was the one that did all the talking.
Are there any other direct descendants besides yourself like that?
Well, I'm sure there must be, but I don't know, because we just trace our own line. But in this article it says, today's descendants of the Ali'i were there, and Samuel Cronenberg Amaru himself of the Kamehameha line recited genealogies telling who was who. Among them, Marion Peters, Amaru said, would be the rightful Queen of Hawaii.
Wow.
Queen of Hawaii today, if the monarchy had continued. She is a direct descendant of Keopuolani's half-sister. Some of the fairy tale. Yeah, and in this article also said, also present for the three-day event was a woman Amaru described as the closest living relative of Keopuolani. For mine, I have two English names, two Hawaiian names. But one of my Hawaiian names is Haliokiawe, and that's a house of refuge, in Kona. So at one time I went to Kona, and another lady with me, and they give a little booklet showing the numbers and what, describing when you go through the city of refuge. And we went all through, but on the cover of this book, it says, please return to office upon leaving. So when I was ready to leave, I got the book from the lady, and it was mine, and I was going to put these two booklets back to the office. So when I got there and I told the man in the office, I said, my name is Haliokiawe. And I showed him my identification card. So I guess I was the only one ever told him that, that's my name, and that's the name of the city of refuge. So he said, oh, keep that book. He said, take the book. And keep it. So I put it in my scrapbook that I wrote on there, given to me upon
Identification?
identification that my name
Wow.
is Haliokiawe. And another Hawaiian name of mine is Polani Nui Bahai Kumoko Bahai, it's the mouth or commander. And that means the chief whose command extends to the ships. My husband told me that name suits you really. You're always giving commands around.
Can you describe this one now?
These pictures were taken at Waikiki, the back of the Moana Hotel. And there we see Diamond Head in the background. The picture at the top, I'm sitting on the stone wall, and in the second one, I'm standing on the pier out back of the Moana Hotel. And this picture below is one that was taken in Kapiolani Park, and that is a lily pond. The picture at the top is also taken out on the beach back of the Moana Hotel, and in that one I'm sitting on a canoe that's up on the beach. And the next one is out on the sands with Diamond Head in the background. Like these two?
Yeah, please.
These are pictures taken at our home. This one is a pier and the back of the Moana Hotel. These pictures of North Corners, back of the Moana Hotel. The other pictures are taken in our home. In those days, travel was only by ship, and it shows my niece leaving for the mainland. This was taken in our yard, and that is these are pictures taken at our home. This one is a picture walking down Hotel Street, Honolulu. These are pictures in our yard. This is a picture of our home here in Molokai when we first came here.
Oh.
This is a picture of my daughter, my son, and our grandson, Peters. This one here is a picture of me and my son, Sammy Peters.
That's Emma there, huh?
Yeah, this is a picture of Emma. This is a picture of Emma, little baby brother, and my brother. Maui, to his, under him now, Hawaii, he conquered Hawaii. Then he went to Maui, conquered King Kahekili, was the king of Maui. And then there was no king on Molokai, so he came here, and that's when he raised fruit and trained his men here on Molokai. And then he moved on to Oahu. And Kalani Kupuli was the king of Oahu. And he conquered that king. And then King Kamuali'i of Kauai ceded Kauai to him. Then he united all the islands under him.
That's pre Kamehameha yet.
Oh yeah.
Where do you, and they have a tomb over it?
Yeah.
Really?
And then they had it all done over again, and so they had this ceremony there. Did you folks ever hear the story of when King Lulilo passed away? He had told his father that if you see the bodies of the monarchs all buried in the mausoleum in Nuanu, the royal mausoleum, but he had told his father that if he should pass away, he doesn't want his body buried in the mausoleum. He wants to be buried. What he meant was with the people, not in the mausoleum with all the royal people. So when he passed away, he was on the throne for only 2 years. And then King Kalakau came to the throne when he passed away. And so the king remembered what his son wanted. So he felt that he wanted to have that carried out. But in the meantime, they had to leave the body at the mausoleum until he could have a tomb built. So he asked the king if could have a 21-gun salute, and the king said yes. So they had this salute, and his body was taken there to the royal mausoleum. And when the tomb was constructed, and that's a tomb that is in the front of the Koihau Church. When you come in the gate, there's a big iron fence. Well, that's the tomb where the father had constructed for him. And so then his body was to be brought down to put in that tomb, and they moved the body at night. And this part of the story I got from my father, because people on the street watching his procession coming down Nuanu. And then afterwards, it came out in the newspaper, and I cut it out in my scrapbook. I had heard this story from my father. He said it was a beautiful night. The stars were out shining, and it was just a lovely evening. And he was standing on the street watching his procession coming down. And all of a sudden, he said the rain came down so hard. It just a torrent. And there was thunder peal. And everybody heard just 21 peals of thunder. And then the rain stopped, stars came out again.
You saw this funeral.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see, there are different. See, some part of this is more coarse.
Well, you don't see that kind of mulberry tree around here anymore.
I don't know. I thought there's some here.
A little bit too close, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, right there. Put it
what's
again.
that?
There. Shows the
Yeah,
grooves.
that point there.
Yeah. The grooves in it.
Yeah, that's coarse. And well, this side is more fine. I don't
But
know.
that was for flattening it and putting and joining them together?
Yeah, yeah.
The tapa cloth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this all went up.
It's heavy wood.
During the night, we wake up.
Start anytime now. You don't have to talk into it, it'll pick up everything. And what year were you born, Mrs. P?
I was born August 12th, 1898. I mean, August 12th, 1896.
1896?
Mm-hmm.
And where and when?
In Honolulu.
Honolulu.
Mm-hmm.
In the hospital?
No, I'm sure it was at home.
At home? Where were you living at that time? Where's your family living?
They were living on Punchbowl Street in Honolulu.
Down towards town side, or up towards the...
Down towards, just below Queen Street.
Like, in these, what I'd like you to do is just kind of think back, just kind of whatever comes to your mind about those days and when you're born, if anything, without so much me asking every question like that, and how it was in those days, or if you can't recall what happened during your birth,
No, I
but
mean,
you don't
nothing,
remember.
Nothing special.
Yeah, well, then just move right into your mom or your dad, and just trying to kind of move
My
along.
father was a French Hawaiian, and he was a contractor and builder. And my mother was very closely associated with the royal family, and spent much of her time with them.
In what way was she? Can you explain how she was related? Like,
Well, she wasn't related, but with Queen Kapi'olani, was the wife of King Kalakaua. She was a very close friend of hers, and she used to spend a great deal of time at the palace with her. And Queen Emma was the wife of Kamehameha IV, was also a close friend, and she gave the name Alexander Liholiho, which is the name of her husband, Kamehameha IV. She gave that to my brother, her husband's name, as she was his godmother. And in those days, you don't take the name unless you have permission to use it or it's given to you. So in some cases where people just take the name of the royal people and then something happens to them. For instance, there was Lili Okalani, her name is Kamakaeha, and that word means something about the eye. Eha means that it's wounded or hurt. And the lady once named her daughter Kamakaeha without even asking the permission of the queen or telling her that she would like to name her daughter that. And her daughter had trouble with her eye. She had trouble for so long, and she didn't know what to do and take care of the eye, but it would come on again, and the trouble was always with the eye. So someone told the mother of this girl, "Did you get permission to use that name, or did you just give it to you?" She said, "No, I just gave it to my daughter." So she said, "Well, I think that's why you're having so much. The girl is having so much trouble." So then she had the name changed,
Changed,
taken away, and then there was no further trouble after that with her eye. So Queen Emma gave the name to my brother, gave her husband's name, Alexander Liholiho, to my brother.
Your mom, she was like in the palace then a lot.
Yeah.
With the queen.
Hmm.
Did she tell you any stories about,
Oh,
whatever
yes.
went on?
Yes, she told me that she was there with Queen Kapiolani when her husband, King Kalakaua, had gone to the mainland when
Yeah.
he was not well, and he went to the mainland. And then he was expected back on a certain day,
Yeah.
and they knew that boat was coming, USS Charleston, I think it was coming in that day, and she knew that the husband was coming back that day, because in those days they didn't have any, they couldn't make any telephone calls or anything like that, so my mother was there, and they decorated up the palace, to welcome him home. And someone went to the airport, to the wharf, and the flags on the ship were all at half-mast. And so they asked, well, wow, what is the idea that the flags are half-mast? And they said, oh, King Kalakaua is on, his body is on there. He passed away on the mainland, and his body is on there. So this person rushed back to the palace and told the queen, and then they had to take down all these decorations that they had made and put up some mourning,
Instead of a celebration.
Yeah. So my mother recalls that very well, because she said she was saying, oh, the queen was so upset, to think that they were going to welcome him back, and yet that very day that ship brought back his body.
Did she know what he...
And I didn't come over as often as we would like them to from Pelikuno to bring us also.
Then maybe I can go into the time I was 2 years old, and
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we left off where I wanted to ask you.
Oh.
Did she know what the king was leaving for to go to?
Oh, yes. She knew that he was going to the mainland because he wasn't well, and he was going up there for treatment.
Oh, he was going up there to get treatment?
Yes.
He didn't go up there for any other reason?
No.
That's why he went?
And then he was expected back. He was to go to see a specialist or doctor or something.
What year was your mom born?
My mother was born January 30th, 1855.
1855. That was right in the midst of all the royalty and everything. She was brought up in that then.
Yeah. Because she had a title of her own.
Right.
She
was royal blood herself, right?
Otherwise, you wouldn't be so close with the
royalty already, right?
Yeah.
You had to be part of it. She was indirectly like
well, not
in the same family.
Not the reigning
right?
family, but she traces her lineage back to
right. The king. And your father, how did he get along with your mom, and how?
Well, very well. He was French descent, and he came here. His father came to Hawaii first. They landed there, and then I think he married there. Then they moved to Kauai. They lived in Kauai, and they had a rice plantation and imported the first Chinese labor to work in the rice plantation.
Rice fields.
And that was in Lumahai, I think. And my husband's family, lived close by there. And he said he can remember way back with his, there's a Frenchman owns that rice plantation.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he can remember that.
In Kobe.
Hmm.
Your mom, what was her maiden name?
Kanoa.
Kanoa.
Kanoa. And her father went as a Hawaiian missionary to the Gilbert Islands, Micronesia, and Marquesas.
Mm-hmm.
He went there, and it was during Hiram Bingham's time. They labored there together, with he and Hiram Bingham. And my mother was born in the at the Gilbert Islands.
Mm.
And when she was old enough to attend school, then she came back here to Honolulu. She was brought back here because her parents made trips back and forth. And so she stayed with her family, the Townsend family.
Oh, the Townsend family.
Townsend, yeah.
So you kind of related to Auntie Harriet then?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right.
Because when I first came here to Molokai to live, Mrs. Ayau was living at that time, Mrs. Olivia Ayau. And we were very friendly with the Paolis, Mitchell Paoli and Gertrude, the wife. And she told me one day, she said, Mrs. Ayau says that you were related to her, but she thought maybe being younger than she, that I might not know. So I said, Mrs. Ayau, I said, what was her maiden name? So I said, Townsend. I said, oh, yes, I know. Hattie Townsend was the first cousin of my mother.
Yeah.
So, we were related.
Yeah, indirectly come down from that clan, from the royalty. The lineage comes down to.
So, Henry Ayau and Harriet, they know that.
Brother and sister,
In fact, one time, maybe you don't have to put this on the tape, but if they want to snap that picture, well, it's all right. But,
we'll get it afterwards when we do all the
pictures. But August 12th is the month and the day of my birth, 1896. But in 1898, and it just so happened that August 12th, 1898, the Hawaiian flag was lowered and the American flag raised.
Oh, I see.
On that day. On that day when I was 2 years old.
It's your birthday, right?
Yeah, on the date of my birth. August 12th, 1898 is the day that the Hawaiian flag was lowered.
And you had your picture done on that day, huh?
Well, about that time, during that year, maybe before or after, but it was when I was 2 years old. But that day...
Was it a happy day or a sad day? Or?
Oh, no, it was a very sad day. I used to cut out all the articles written by Russ Apple and his wife. It used to come out in the paper.
They were writers at that time?
Yeah, and I have a book with all the... And it says that on that day, they had the ceremony on the palace grounds, Ilani Palace, and there were people of different racial groups, but there were very few Hawaiians present. To them, it was a very sad day, and there were very few Hawaiians present at that ceremony.
Everybody else was representative.
Well, they came to see what was going on, but to the Hawaiians, it was a very sad day.
Was the Queen there?
Well, I think she was in her own home, Washington Place, and I don't think she had been imprisoned in the palace, and then I think
this is
she was
3
in her
years.
own home.
3 years after the annexation.
Yeah.
It's 1893. So.
After the revolution, you mean?
The revolution.
Yeah.
Now, what was Hawaii? What was Honolulu like in those days?
Oh, it was very quiet, and it didn't have very many cars, and it was mostly carriages and horses that they used for transportation. And they had tram cars, And I've forgotten just what year they had the electric
The trolleys.
trolley cars. And one time we were going, my two sisters older than me and I were going, and so my mother told us, now don't you folks ride on the trolley, you get on the tram. We said, yeah, but we didn't, we got on the trolley. We wanted to see what it was like. And the old pictures of the palace and with the tram car, I have some in my scrapbook. I can remember that very well, you know.
Riding on the tram and...
Yeah. And we lived on Punchbowl Street, and I went to school at St. Andrew's Priory.
Oh, you went to St. Andrews?
Yeah, and it meant walking up through the government building road, then across the palace ground, and then you get out in Hotel Street, and there used to be a Royal Hawaiian Hotel there. It was called the Royal Hawaiian
That's
Hotel.
Hotel
Richard and Hotel and Richard Street, right on the corner. So we'd cross through there, and then go. Then we'd be up in Britannia Street, and then go into St. Andrew's Prairie.
Yeah, where it is today.
Yeah, it's still the same place. And I went there to school, and later on we moved away from that, where we were living to out on King Street near Picoy.
Picoy, yeah.
Just past Picoy Street on King Street. So I went to the Kahamanu School. It was the elementary school right up there.
By Thomas Square area?
No. Britannia and Picoy Street.
Oh, that's a little bit up.
So I went there for a while, and then later on I went to Central Grammar School in Honolulu. But I went to Punahou to school for 4 years, high school.
At that time it was a high school?
Yeah. Well, they had an elementary school too, but I went there for 4 years and graduated with a class of 1916.
1916. See, that's way back.
A little before your time.
Yeah, way before my time.
That's a school picture I had, and that's my diploma.
What were the people like in Honolulu? What kinds of people?
Well, there were, people of different racial groups were coming to Honolulu, the Chinese and Japanese and people like that. But it was very nice. It wasn't so crowded and like it is today, so that living there was not bad at all.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Who were like in control, so to speak, of the area or the town?
Well, they had the governor, after the overthrow the kingdom.
Yeah.
Then
that was Governor. Who was the first governor?
I wonder if it was Sanford Dole.
Dole.
I think so. I'm not quite sure whether he was the first, but anyway, he was. And they ran the government, and well, it seemed it was all right. And living was very nice, not like it is today.
Crowded, huh?
Yeah. Not only crowded, but crime today. I mean, we didn't know that in those days. And, and during those days, they had what we call kahunas, and they were very powerful, and they were very knowledgeable, of what their.
Did they come out at all, in publicly?
No. But they were always available if you needed their help. They were always available and willing to help. And
were they kept from practicing at all by anyone?
No, they weren't. They weren't kept from doing what they wanted to do. And shall I tell the story of my father losing his tools?
We have that.
You have that.
We have that. We have that really. We have that good.
And let me see what else I was going to say. Oh, there was where we lived. It was a very big yard, and we had a two-story house that we were living in. Had 7 bedrooms, and in that house, in that yard, there was another house and another two-story house in the back. It was a very big yard, and there was a lady who had come from New Zealand, and when she left New Zealand, she had in mind the house that she would be living in when she gets to Honolulu. And she happened to pass our place, and she saw the house in the yard, so she came in and she told my mother the story. She said, you know, when I left New Zealand, I saw this house. I had this house in mind, and I knew that when I come to Honolulu, if I find that house, I'm going to ask if I could live in there, rent it. So my mother said, oh, yes, that's perfectly all right, because there's no one occupying that house. You're welcome to use it. So she did. And one day my sister, older sister, was with her out in the yard, and then she said, oh, someone is leaving. And my sister didn't understand what she meant. She said, it's a man, he's leaving. And my sister still didn't understand what she meant. And then all of a sudden they heard this wailing in the house right next door. This person was passing away. That's what she meant, that he was leaving. She saw this person going.
Yeah.
And then these people who lived in the back, in the house in the back, they were musicians, and they always played guitar and ukulele and sang Hawaiian songs. So my mother asked her one time, would you like to go back there and those people play Hawaiian songs and sing Hawaiian songs? She said, oh, I'd love that. So my mother took her back there and introduced her to those people. And so they were singing a song, Aina Hao. That's the name of the song. And that song was written by Princess Kaiulani's mother, Princess Likelike. She married Cleghorn. And when they finished singing the song, then she said, oh, that was beautiful. But she said, let me tell you something. While you folks were singing that song, a lady came into this room, and she looked like a royal person. And she stood here all the while you folks sang that song. And, well, she could just say she looked like a royal person. So they went and got pictures of the different, Queen Emma and Leo Kalani and all those. And Princess Likelike, she said, this is the one I saw. This is the one I saw. And it was Princess Likelike. They were singing her song, I know.
So she came to listen, huh? She wanted to listen in. That's really interesting. This lady, what was her name? What was this lady's name?
Oh, I don't remember. I was just a little child at that
She
time.
must have been psychic.
Yeah, psychic.
Yeah.
True, because when she was out in the yard and she told my sister someone is leaving, a man. And my sister thought, well, where was this man coming from?
Yeah, all those things, like she saw the house.
Yeah.
And then this last experience, she must have been.
And then when they brought all his pictures out of all the different, she pointed out the one that she saw. Now, of course, she didn't know that one that composed the song. Right. She didn't know. But when they finished singing, she said, well, that was beautiful. But while you folks were singing, there was a lady came out here, and she stood here all the while you folks sang that song. And, then they said, gee. So they brought all these pictures. And out of all the pictures that they had of Kapiolani, Liliuokalani, and all, the Queen Emma and all, she said, oh, this is the one I saw. So, and my mother made that expression, that But
We'll get that right. Yeah, because we gotta do that before.
Kapiolani, Liliuklani, and all, the Queen Emma and all. She said, oh, this is the one I saw. So,
Okay.
but
We'll get that right. Yeah, because we gotta do that before. Let the camera warm up. Okay, go ahead.
I was the last one who was born under the Hawaiian flag. And my mother made that expression, that I'm glad that all my children were born under the Hawaiian flag. But a year or so after that, she became pregnant.
Oh.
And, well, whenever she gave birth, it was always at home, and friends came to assist her, and she didn't have any difficult time. But with this birth, she was going through all the pain and that she never experienced before. And these friends were so upset. They tried to do what they could for her, but they couldn't help her. And then, well, Hawaiians sometimes you say something and then it's held against you.
Yeah. And then the Hawaiians, when they say?
When they say something, and then it's held against them, So my mother had made, some of the people who were present said, maybe you said something.
Try to recall.
Try to recall whether you had made any statement that's causing this trouble you're going through. And then my mother thought a while, and she said, oh, I remember. I said that I'm glad that all my children were born under the Hawaiian flag. And, well, in those days, we didn't have screens on the windows, so we had to have a frame over the bed and a mosquito net.
Yeah.
And so they got a Hawaiian flag, and they draped it over this frame.
Oh, I see.
And the baby was born under the Hawaiian flag.
That was pretty smart.
Yeah.
About the war. How about the war of the depression? Did it? That was kind of afterwards when you were here already.
Yeah, that came long afterwards.
Anything else you want to tell about Honolulu or why you were there?
Well, there's not very much to say. Things were not so advanced as they are today. That very few places you could go to see things. And
what year did you make the move to Molokai?
Why did I?
Or when did you get married? Or why?
I
when
got
did
married
you come here?
in January of 1930, and my husband had already been given a homestead here in 1929, and he and his 3 children, by a former marriage, his wife had passed away, had planned to come here to Molokai when we got married. So it was natural that I had to come here to Molokai to live. But I found it very, I really enjoyed that. Life was quiet here, and the homesteaders were very friendly people. And in fact, we grew things. Some would have watermelon, some corn, and some pumpkin and different things. And then when we harvested those things, well, most of it they sent to Honolulu, to be sown in Honolulu. But before they made the shipment to Honolulu, we always exchanged crops. You know, those that had watermelon would give us, and if we had pumpkin, we'd give them, and someone else would give us corn, and you know, and it was always that way. And I find it still almost the same today.
Yeah.
Now the people who live across the road from us plant sweet potatoes, and they have a market for it in Honolulu.
What family is that?
Moko'au.
Mopuao family.
Yeah, and yet when I go there and I say I want 10 pounds of potato or 15 pounds, and they put it on the scale and put it in a package, and I said, how much is that? And, oh, no. I said, now listen, this is Becky Moko'au. Now listen, if you told me that you had potatoes here and it's all going to waste and they have to be thrown away, so come up and get some. If I went up when you tell me that, I wouldn't expect to pay. But when I come here and ask for 10 pounds or 15 pounds and you put it on the scale and put it in a package, I want to pay, or else I'd be ashamed to come here for potatoes. Well, all right then, $1.
That's really a reflection of the whole style.
And then across here, our wives live up the road, and one day she came down here and she brought me a whole big package of corn. And I said, how much is that? She said, oh, no, nothing. You take that. Well, it happened that the girl who was living here with us was attending high school and taking up agriculture up there, and they had planted tomatoes. And she had brought home a whole stack of tomatoes. So when this lady wouldn't take any money for